Weiß Bescheid. Intendo.
Welcome to all Caribbean entrepreneurs. If you've been ready and waiting to take your business digital and get paid online while you sip something strong on the beach, this podcast is for you. We'll hear from the Caribbean's finest entrepreneurs on topics like e-commerce, business development, brand building, social media, their wins and failures. This is the only place in the region helping you navigate the digital age from the Caribbean's perspective. This is Digipreneur FM. And now, let's give it up for the Digiboss himself, Mr. Karan Rose.
Thank you once again for joining us here live on Digipreneur FM. This is the place for all digital entrepreneurs across the Caribbean region and diaspora to come and learn about how to navigate the digital age from the Caribbean's perspective. It's Sunday morning, and honestly, I woke up in a completely different frame of mind, and I had an idea. And if you have been following my content for any length of time, you guys know that I'm a very, very practical person. A lot of the content I put out is practical. It's very how-to-ish. I try to give as much information as I can so that you can take action upon it immediately. Because to me, that is the greatest way to motivate somebody, is to teach somebody how to do something. You know, as they say, you give a man a fish, he eats for a day, but if you teach him how to fish, he eats for a lifetime. And my mind frame has always been in that space where I don't get motivated by the typical things that we see online these days, dubbed as motivation. Everything has its place. But for me, I don't get motivated when I hear a lot of the airy-fairy stuff. I don't get motivated by the fluff. I'm not going to listen to a 2 or 3 minute talk with some, inspirational music in the background and wake up and feel like, yes, I can do it. I get motivated when I learn something, when I jump on a YouTube video or I jump into a webinar or workshop and that person, shows me something, or they give me a perspective and I'm like, wow, I didn't think about it like that, and this can solve my problem. Or I learn how to do something, and then I run to my computer or, run out in the world and I go and experiment and I see that I've gotten a result for myself, whether good or bad. I was able to take action upon what I learned. That motivates me. And so this Sunday, what I wanted to do was, I figured people love to come to me for that motivation, for my own unique way of motivating people. And as I said, I've never been the one to be in the airy-fairy stuff. So I feel like what I'm going to do is every Sunday, I'm going to release my own style of motivation podcasts on Sunday, where it's not going to be, 100% how-to, but I definitely want to give perspective on some of the things that kind of cross my mind and just throw my thoughts out there. And you know what? Some of you guys are going to listen, and it might be exactly what you needed to hear today to prepare yourself for the upcoming week or even beyond. And for other people, this might just spark a conversation. Either which way, we've done our job. So for this first installment of our Sunday motivation, of our little Sunday talks, the topic for me today is I woke up and just getting prepared, getting ready to start my Sunday. I just had this nagging thought that it really is all hands on deck in the Caribbean. That thought process that we need an all hands on deck in the Caribbean approach. There is no one way to do something. We can't wait for anybody to save us. We can't wait for somebody else to have the bright idea. We need an all hands on deck approach. We need everybody chipping in. Their energy, their specialty, their willingness to learn, their willingness to do better. We need everybody if we are truly going to have a resurgence in the region. And the time is now. The time is now. The Caribbean community is constantly talking about the problems that we face. And whilst we need to highlight the problems so that we can fix them, we are in this battle between problem awareness and solution creation. We have degrees in problem identification. We have people who have a PhD in problem identification. But when it comes to the solution aspect, we are blank. Or we have a solution and we throw something out, but it's for somebody else to do. It's not for you to champion. It's not for you to devote your time and energy to it. It's for somebody else to do. So I have this great idea, but you know what? I'm not going to throw any energy into it. That's for somebody else to do. And that somebody else is typically always the government. It doesn't matter whether it is here in Trinidad and Tobago, if it's Barbados, if it's Jamaica, Grenada, Guyana, it doesn't matter. Collectively, we have just been in this mindset that it's for somebody else to do, and that somebody else is the government. And so we complain, we highlight all of the problems, but we don't have enough people willing to say, hey, you know what? Here is a problem that I'm passionate about. Let this be the problem that I jump out and tackle. So we need more people who are not just identifying the problems, but making it their business to create a solution for it. Now, if you're tuning in, chances are you are an entrepreneur. You are a Caribbean entrepreneur living in the region, or you are of Caribbean descent and you're an entrepreneur and you're living in the diaspora. Entrepreneurship is all about finding a problem to solve that you care about, that somebody would pay you for. And I'll say that again. Entrepreneurship is all about finding a problem to solve that you care about, that somebody would pay you for. Now, if you're not getting paid for it, but you're still solving a problem, that's a hobby, and that's quite okay too. You can definitely have a hobby that solves a problem where you're not getting paid. And that's perfectly okay, because maybe that is your hobby. Maybe you're making money in other areas and you do something for your own mental health. You do something because this is a passion project for you. Not every single thing we do has to have a dollar value behind it. The region has tons of problems that we can tackle and turn into viable businesses. Since I was 19, I've been in the smartphone industry. I got into it because it was a job, but I didn't know what I signed up for when I got there, because it turned into, it ignited something in me. From since I was 6 years old, I've always loved technology. I've always been the neighborhood tech guy. And when I got into the smartphone industry, it put me in a position where I got to work with, the fastest growing piece of technology in the tech space, which is our smartphones. And I also got to educate people. I got to meet people. I got to educate people on the technology. And coming out to the Caribbean, seeing that one of the biggest ways that we got sensitized to technology out in North America is by going into these tech stores, and you have these guys that are teaching you. You have classes. I seen that as a big gap here in the Caribbean, where there was just nowhere to go to learn about technology, specifically smartphones. And you couldn't even go into any of the telecoms providers' stores and speak to anybody that knew anything about the tech. It was rare. It'd be rare if you found somebody that even cared about the smartphones. And these are tools of productivity. These are how some people are making, not some, this is how a generation of people are making millions of dollars now, just by having a phone and having the right phone, because it's a tool. And so for me, when I came here and I seen that was a problem, there was nowhere to go to learn about smartphones, and this piece of tech is responsible for so much business. I decided that my passion for the last 10 plus years in smartphones, I'm here in the Caribbean and there's this gap where there's nowhere to learn. Let me turn my passion and fill that gap. And it started off as a hobby because I wasn't getting paid. All I was doing was creating blogs, just educating. And as that progressed, it turned into a business. And it turned into a business within the first 6 months of me starting the blog, because I got to learn about a variety of different ways of how to do digital business. I got to learn about how to monetize through your website, how content could help you monetize, the different ways to sell products, whether it be through, affiliate marketing or whether it be through drop shipping. I got to learn a wide variety of ways as to how people could monetize a passion. But it started off with identifying a problem. And that problem was a lack of knowledge or a lack of a dedicated space to learn about the technology. And because I was so passionate about the technology, and I was so passionate about it for so long, since I was 19, and I came to Trinidad with a wide variety of skills within that tech space, it made it easy for me to transition, that simple blog, and turned it into an online business. So we have so many issues, we have so many problems, we have challenges all across the region. You as the individual need to decide, which of these do you care about? Which can you tackle? Which are you willing to champion? And if you can at least identify one of them, if you can identify one of those challenges, it doesn't have to start off as a business right away. It could be that hobby. And while it's a hobby, you get to learn more about the challenges in that space. And then you could also educate yourself on the different ways to turn it into a business if you want to do that. We need to get away from who creates the solution as well. We need to get away from who creates the solution as well. We have so much tension in the region for a variety of reasons I won't get into, but we have a lot of tension. So when somebody creates something, a solution that can help us, because that person created it, and we might not like them for whatever reason. It could be their ethnicity, could be the way they look, it could be whatever. But because they created the solution, we ain't messing with the solution. We need to get away from that line of thinking in the region, because the solutions are what's going to help raise the quality of life amongst us in the region. We need to get away from who creates the solution. If the solution is good, it's good. Let's work with it. Let's work with them. We need to bridge that gap. And I know it's a lot simpler to say than to actually go out and do it, but folks, the clock is ticking. And if we don't do the things now, who knows what the region looks like in a couple of years? We're in the fire right now, folks. Regionally, we are in the fire. But there's a lot of opportunities. We need to tap into all resources and develop ourselves. The changing of our region starts with one, ourself. When we change ourselves, the collective will change. When we change ourself, the collective will change. We need greater relations with the diaspora. Not only are we not treated like the kings and queens that we are in these first world countries, and despite what people in the region, people across the Caribbean region see on TV or hear on the radio, things are not what they appear to be on the tube. In North America, in the UK, even when we are doing well, even when we are getting paid, we have a good position, we have a nice home, we have a nice car, we are still not treated like our counterparts of other ethnicities over there. And that's what makes it so much harder when we decide that we want to come back to the Caribbean, because maybe we're just tired of just being a person of color in the first world country, and we have to constantly be on the defense simply because of our complexion. It makes it so much harder when we decide to come back to the Caribbean, because you know what? The Caribbean's doing some big things right now. Technology is spreading. There's so much opportunity for us. And it makes it that much harder when we say, you know what? Forget North America. I can't deal with being angry all the time. I can't deal with feeling like, a police stop could be my last. Neighbors just looking at you funny because you are a person of color. And we come back to the region and we face scrutiny here because of a scarcity mindset. Now, it's brought on by years and years of conditioning from colonial times. But when you come back to the region and you stick out because you have an accent, and people constantly make you know that, well, you're not really one of us. You might have roots. You might have been born here once upon a time, but you're not one of us. You have an accent. You dress different. There's this resistance to allow us to assimilate. And we are here because we're tired of being over there. We're tired of being in the first world countries. We're tired of the persecution. We're tired of it. And it feels amazing to come back and be amongst people that look like you. It's amazing to me. This is my 6th year in Trinidad, and I will always remember, I was like, wow, there are people with dreadlocks in Parliament. Like, that's allowed? And it's because of my own 30 years of conditioning in Canada. You can't even have dreads in most jobs. So to see it in Parliament, to see black CEOs, to see, Indian owners, just to see people of color thriving in the region. And you're like, wow, like, this is things you're not used to. I want to be here. I want to be amongst that. I want to be amongst people of color that are doing well. Because it's rare in first world countries. Again, you'll know people that are doing that have a good job, but you don't know the CEOs of any of these companies. They don't look like you. And so we need that greater relationship between the region and the diaspora, because they have seen things. They have been in environments at some extremely high levels. They have skill sets, they have a different mindset that can come and help the region grow. They have a fresh perspective, a fresh pair of eyes. And if we can merge that with our countrymen and women in the region, if we merge that with our homegrown talent, listen, Caribbean people are the most creative people. The most. I don't think there's anybody that can argue with the creativity of the Caribbean people. Now, just imagine what happens when the Caribbean and the diaspora finally bond, grow the relations, share resources. We can become a powerful region. As the Yardies would say, we're small, but we're talawa. It's funny because I used to hear that all the time and I never knew what it meant, but it sounded good. We're small, but we're talawa. It always sounded good. And I didn't know what it meant. And it hit home. It always hit home for me. Weird. I didn't know what it meant, but it hit home. And then when I learned what it meant, I was like, wow. We small, but we talawa. Folks, the region might feel small compared, but we large. We have so much talent in the region and diaspora. People want to come home. But even the people that want to come home, I'm telling you from now, don't think that you can wait for the region to fix itself. I hear too many people in the diaspora who might have left the Caribbean years ago and stay in first world countries and will allow themselves to be subjected to all the nonsense we deal with over there. And then when they look back at the region and they say, nah, I'm not coming back to Jamaica. I'm not coming back to Trinidad. I'm not coming back to Barbados. I'm not coming back to Grenada, Guyana, St. Lucia. I'm not coming back until the country fixes itself. Well, when the brain drain has been happening since, Christ was a little boy, and the best of the best Caribbean folk are living and building first world countries, how do you expect the region to fix itself when you're busy fixing somebody else's house? We are constantly looking at the news and saying, oh, wow, look, there's a Trini in NASA. Look, there's a Jamaican doctor discovering this. Dr. Sebi was right in Honduras. There's so much that we have within our region that we have access to. There's so much. But if you are in the diaspora, you cannot wait for the Caribbean to fix itself. You need to come home and be an agent of change in the region. You need to come back and initiate that change. And change is hard. Change is always going to be met with resistance. But there's no way we build without joining forces. What made me laugh and also made me really sad, and I had a lot of thoughts, was when Black Panther came out. And it was amazing to see everybody come out in African garments. Listen, African people, Caribbean people all over the world came out to watch Black Panther in African garments. And I thought, wow, it's amazing that we united for a Marvel movie. We don't own it. We are employees in the production. We don't own anything with Marvel. So it was amazing to see us come together for that. And what made me sad is that we love the idea of Wakanda, but nobody wants to build it. Except for Akon. Akon wants to build Wakanda. We love the idea of Wakanda, but we don't want to build Wakanda. And we can do that. We have everything that we need. And even what we don't have, we can make do without until better can be done. Because that's what entrepreneurship is all about. Finding that problem and creating that solution. And not everybody is going to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody should be an entrepreneur. But we have a ton of people who want to be support staff. Heck, we're doing that in every other country. We're a support staff. Because ownership across the world for the black community especially is very low. So we are accustomed to being support staff. But just imagine bringing all of your knowledge, all of your talents, all of your experience, finding somebody that shares a mutual passion to solve a problem. And we come together and we start to tackle these problems, these challenges, one by one. We can raise the quality of living within the Caribbean. The time is now. The time is now for the Caribbean. But in order for us to take advantage of all the post-pandemic opportunities, we need to start investing in ourselves in preparation to meet these opportunities. What do they say about preparation meeting opportunity? You know. We need to start investing in ourselves in preparation to meet these opportunities. And the beautiful thing about the digital age now that we've never had, years ago, is we can learn skills now. And all we need is our phone and YouTube. When people ask me all the time, how did you learn how to build websites? How did you learn how to, live stream, podcasts, write blogs, do this, SEO? And it's Team Internet, online courses, YouTube videos, a heck of a lot of forums, and buying books. And you just need to start somewhere. You can start with all of the free content. It just doesn't end there, but you can start there. You can start with just using your phone, jumping on YouTube, and learning skills. And as you start to put those skills into practice, build your portfolio, you can start to get some paying clients. And at that point, you start to reinvest in yourself. Since I started Rhode Island in 2016, I've felt like I've made a lot of money. But I also knew that, the bank accounts didn't reflect it because I was constantly reinvesting in myself. So even though I've made really good money, I felt like I haven't seen it because as quick as money is coming in, I'm spending it right back and investing in myself in the knowledge, investing in myself in the tools, and just playing for a bigger game, playing for a bigger purpose. If there's one thing that I want you listening to Digipreneur FM right now, if there's one thing I want you to take away from this Sunday episode is the idea and the concept and the understanding of delayed gratification. Social media has killed any sort of patience. Everything we want is right now. And I get it because there are some people in situations where they can't think past 24 hours. They're living today for today because they need to get food on the table now. Things are not stable. They don't have internet. They don't have some of the basics. They don't even have what we need to get a bank account because they're forgotten by the system. So there are those people. But that's not everybody. And if we can start to focus on ourselves, and those who have the bare minimum could start to do better, it would make it so much easier to help and support those that really, truly need the help and support. And when I tell people, we have YouTube, we have our phones, we have our computers, we can learn skills. People come back and they say, well, not everybody has it, but that is still a small portion. And if the rest of the people could do what needs to be done, it would offset a lot of things. We have our phones. We have YouTube. There's online courses now. There's forums. There are so many ways to learn skills without having to go to a tertiary education to go and get a degree and get into a field. There's a lot of new fields. There's a lot of new jobs that have opened. But we would never know in the Caribbean because we're not looking for them. We are looking for what the government is telling us to do. We are looking for what tertiary education schools and systems are telling us to do. We are listening to, I'm sorry to say this, but we're listening to our parents or people in the family who have influence over us. And they're, as much as they're trying to guide us and telling us, hey, doctors make the money, lawyers make the money. Go do that. And they put that pressure and influence over us to go into school and get into these fields that are beyond saturated, that require us to go into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt and have to take how many years to go and learn this profession to be able to do it. And then when we come out, we're struggling. I seen a stat where we graduated over 300 doctors last year in UE alone, and the majority of them are struggling to find jobs. But if we're graduating over 300 doctors a year, how much doctors do we need in a nation of 1.5 million people in Trinidad? How many doctors do we need? There's so many other professions. And I encourage everybody, jump on Google, type in high income skills 2021 and start going down the rabbit hole. Because you don't need to go to a tertiary education school to make money. You don't need to go to school to get a job or to build a business. You don't. The learning doesn't only happen in those buildings. We can go online now. There are courses available for us. There are jobs available for us all over the world. My mindset changed the first time I got paid from somebody in Australia. Booked my services, paid me online, and we did everything remotely. Because at that point, it started to make me realize that, wait, why would I fight up to get clients in one country when the whole world is my platform? I just need to find my ideal customers just across the world. We're not limited. But we're limited in what we can do if you do not have the required skills. The change in the Caribbean starts with you. Now just imagine we all live on the same street. And every single day, if there was 10 houses on that street, if every single day, each household jumped on Google, did online courses, gained skills, and started to ply their trade or their craft online and started to get clients from all over the world, and they're getting paid digitally. If every single house on that street did that, That entire street doesn't need to come out for work. They don't need to look for employment in the country. They can generate their own money right in the comfort of their own house. We need more of that. I want you guys to get away from waiting for somebody to come and save you. Yes, we know the government has their job to do. But you have your job to do. And you don't need to wait for anybody to put money in your hand when you have a phone and you have internet. Heck, there was times where going through my own journey, building my business, where I didn't even have money to pay my own Digicel bill. There was a time period where for a week, my electricity was cut. I was waiting for a paycheck and it was delayed and I did not have money to pay my electricity bill. So I took myself to a coffee shop and I was there every day for a week just using their internet and getting my work done. And when I got paid, when checks came in, I turned back on my electricity. I paid my phone bills. We can't wait for anybody to give us a handout anymore. At some point, we need to start taking responsibility for ourselves. That's my challenge to you. What can you do to upgrade your skill set right now? What can you do to upgrade your mindset? Get yourself in a position where mentally you are prepared to do what needs to be done. And again, I know it's not easy, but we don't have a choice anymore. Each of us need to do this, because if we don't, I don't know what happens after. My challenge to you is to do your part in becoming an agent of change for the Caribbean region. Sunday Motivation.
You've been listening to the Digiboss, Karan Rose. We hope your notepad was filled after this episode. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. The learning doesn't stop, folks. And to make sure you don't miss any gems from the Digiboss, go over and follow him on all social media platforms at Karan Rose. Folks, don't just sit there with a notepad. We need you to implement at least one thing into your business before the next episode. That's the only way your business levels up. Thanks for listening to Digipreneur FM. Now go be great.